Equals 3 Studios.
Hello. I'm feeling very mysterious today. I don't know if you can tell because I'm in my cape, but I've been watching a lot of documentary murder mysteries, like Making a Murderer. And it's got me thinking a lot about unsolved mysteries, so I put together a list of some unsolved mysteries for you guys. Let's do this.
Number 10.
Elisa Lam. This mystery is sad and disturbing. In February of 2013, the body of 21-year-old Elisa Lam was found inside the water tank on the roof of the Cecil Hotel in Los Angeles. Hotel guests had been complaining about low water pressure and funny tasting water, so a maintenance worker went to the roof to check the water tank and found Lam's decomposing nude body. Wait. Funny tasting water?
Kelly, no!
The LA coroner ruled her death an accidental drowning and said there were no traces of recreational drugs or alcohol in her system. The thing that makes me feel like this really wasn't an accident is that there's hotel surveillance footage from the night Lam disappeared, and it shows her acting really strangely. The footage is really disturbing because it shows her distressed. She's clearly hiding in an elevator and then presses lots of buttons and waves her hands like she's talking to someone that you can't see off camera. And it's not like this is the first shady thing that's gone down at the Cecil Hotel. The place is infamous. There's been several suicides, 3 murders, and 2 different serial killers live there at different times. Why would anyone still stay at this hotel?
Number 9.
Never go hiking near the Bennington Triangle. The Bennington Triangle is an area in southwestern Vermont where a bunch of people went missing in the 1940s and 50s. Triangles are mysterious. On November 12th, 1945, 75-year-old mountain guide Mitty Rivers led a group of hunters down a hiking trail in the triangle. Mitty was walking fast, and he got a little bit ahead of the others, and they lost sight of him. And then they never saw him again. Disappeared. Gone. The real question here is, what was Mitty eating? Because he's got to be in good shape at 75 to out-hike this group of hunters. I want that diet. A little over a year later, 18-year-old Paula Weldon also vanished while hiking in the same area. And then, 3 years later, to the day after Paula disappeared, this guy James E. Tetford vanished from a bus that was en route to Bennington. Then, 8-year-old Paul Jepson vanished from a dump where his parents were caretakers. 2 weeks after that, Frida Langer was hiking with some people and they fell in the stream and got wet, and Frida was like, I'm gonna go back to camp and get us dry stuff. So she left and never came back. The super creepy thing here is that when Frida disappeared, over 300 military, police, and volunteers scoured the area with like dogs, helicopters, everything, and they didn't find anything. And then 7 months later, her body turned up in that area. I mean, nobody knows what happened to any of the people that disappeared here. But the Bennington Triangle does have a bunch of stories about UFOs and Bigfoot sightings, and it's rumored to be on a Native American burial ground. So, my guess? Aliens.
Number 8.
UVB 76. This is creepy as UVB 76, also known as the Buzzer, is a shortwave radio station that broadcasts this noise 24 hours a day, every day, since the early 1970s. At least it's more interesting than sports talk radio. The really creepy thing is that every once in a while on this station, a nondescript Russian voice can be heard. Nobody knows where this is coming from or what the station is for. One article speculates that it could be a weather station, broadcasting changes in the ionosphere. But I feel like we would know about that. Like, why would a weather station be so secret? Other people think that the voices are some sort of Russian military communication, and the buzzing is to keep people off that channel. The location of origin of this buzzer was once triangulated to this small town 19 miles outside of Moscow. In 2011, a group of urban explorers went to this town, but all they found was an abandoned military base and a broadcast log. The broadcast log had a record of a transmitter operating at the same frequency as this buzzer, but no one was there anymore. The buzzer had moved locations, and the mystery continues. Guys, this isn't some like old mystery. This is still going on today. You can tune in on the radio or on an online stream and listen to this broadcast. You can even listen to it on iTunes, and it's still a mystery. No one knows where it's coming from.
Number 7.
The disappearance of Michael Rockefeller. Michael Rockefeller was the son of Nelson Rockefeller, who was New York governor and future vice president. In 1961, Michael took an expedition to the Asmat region of what was then Netherlands, New Guinea, to collect indigenous art. While he was there, he was on this riverboat, and the boat started taking on water, and he attempted to swim to shore and was never seen again. Some people speculate that Michael drowned. Others say that he might have been eaten by a shark or a saltwater crocodile. But a lot of people think that he might have been captured and eaten by indigenous cannibals. That's my vote, just because it's the weirdest. Michael was declared dead 3 years later because his body was never found. In 1979, Rockefeller's mother supposedly hired a private investigator for $250,000 to go get to the bottom of this. The investigator returned with 3 human skulls, one of which he claimed was Michael's, because cannibals don't eat the skull part. And who were the other 2 skulls? What, you just come back with 3 skulls and no one questions that? How did he get through customs? The Rockefeller family has never publicly spoken about the private investigator or the skulls, so we may never know what really happened. In fact, we probably will not ever know.
Number 6.
Severed feet in British Columbia. This mystery is bizarre. Since August 20th, 2007, several detached human feet have washed up on the beaches of British Columbia and Washington State. The super bizarre thing is that of all the 11 feet they found, only 2 have been left feet. Some people think that the feet belong to victims of a plane or a boat crash, but that's weird that no other body parts are washing ashore. None of the feet have any markings on them from tools, like there would be if foul play was involved. One writer believes that the feet might be from victims of the 2004 Asian tsunami, based on the undercurrents of the water and the fact that the shoes found on the feet were all made before 2004. So that means that these feet were just hanging out in the ocean for 3 years? I don't know. This mystery's keeping me on my toes. As of 2012, 2 people's identities have been linked to these feet, and both of these people were thought to have committed suicide by jumping off a bridge in BC. But that still doesn't explain why we only find their feet. I know what it is. Sea monsters don't like the taste of feet, especially them right feet.
Number 5.
The Atlas Vampire Case. Vampires might be real. On May 4th, 1932, a 32-year-old prostitute, Lily Lindstrom, was found murdered in her apartment in the Atlas area of Stockholm. Police eventually broke into her apartment and discovered she'd suffered blunt force trauma to the head. That's not all. Detectives found a gravy ladle at the scene, and an autopsy showed that her body had been drained of most of its blood. You guys see where this is going? Vampires. Police believe that whoever killed Lily used the ladle to drink her blood. The real mystery here is, why does a vampire need a ladle? After a lengthy investigation of all of her clients, no one was charged with murder, and the mystery remains.
Number 4.
Iguala mass kidnapping. There's no such thing as safety in numbers. On September 26, 2014, 43 male students from a teacher's college went missing in Iguala, Mexico. The students took several buses to Iguala that day to protest a conference led by the mayor's wife, but local police stopped them and a confrontation ensued. Details of what happened next are a little sketchy, but investigators say that once they were in police custody, they were handed over to a local gang. Both the mayor and his wife were eventually arrested for kidnapping, and 80 suspects in all were arrested, 44 of which were police officers. What happened to the students? In October of 2014, a mass grave was found containing 28 charred bodies, and people thought that maybe some of the students' bodies were in there. They weren't. Later, 2 students' bodies were identified after bone fragments were found separately. That still doesn't explain what happened or where the other 41 students went.
Number 3.
The BEALE'S ciphers. The BEALE'S ciphers are a collection of papers including encrypted text that supposedly leads to a $65 million buried treasure. So a cipher is a way to encrypt a written document, so it just looks like a bunch of numbers or letters unless you have the key to decode it. In the 1820s, Thomas Beale left a box containing 3 cipher texts with an innkeeper, and then he just disappeared. There's a lot of just disappearing in these mysteries. That's what you do in a mystery. Disappear. Decades later, a friend of the innkeeper cracked one of the ciphers using the Declaration of Independence as the key. The cipher he solved described the value of the treasure, but the other two unsolved ciphers supposedly tell where the treasure's buried and then give instructions for the owner's next of kin. This is literally the plot of National Treasure. More than 100 years later, no one has been able to solve the other two ciphers. People have tried using all kinds of famous documents like the Magna Carta or the Constitution. People have even tried writing computer programs to crack it, with no success. Some people have doubts whether the treasure even exists at all, but I've seen that Nicolas Cage movie, and it does.
Number 2.
Roanoke, the lost colony. Sometimes it's not just people that disappear, but entire colonies. America's oldest, or OG, unsolved mystery dates back to 1587, when a group of English settlers arrived on Roanoke Island, off the coast of what is now North Carolina. The governor of this new colony went back to England to get supplies, but he got drafted into a naval war and wasn't able to return to the colony for 3 years. And when he did return, all traces of the colony, including his wife, his daughter, his granddaughter, they had all vanished. One of the only clues left behind was a wooden post with the word Croatoan carved into it. Croatoan was the name of an island south of Roanoke that was inhabited by Native Americans. So some people think the colonists were just abducted by Native Americans. Others think that they got tired of waiting for the governor to return, so they decided to try to sail back to England themselves, and they got lost at sea. Other people believe they were killed by Spaniards from Florida. It's kind of like a big game of Clue, like it was the Spaniards in the study with the candlestick, except it's not like Clue because it's real people and there was probably death. That's 115 people just gone.
Number 1.
Colin Farrell was an attempted murder suspect. So Farrell recently told a story on The Tonight Show about how when he was younger, he was brought in by the police on attempted murder charges. The suspect had beaten another man, left him for dead, and then set the apartment on fire. Why would you do that, Colin? Apparently, Colin didn't do it, but the police thought he did because they had a sketch of the suspect that looked exactly like Colin Farrell. But luckily, he had an alibi. A friend kept a journal, and that served as proof that on the night in question, Colin Farrell was actually across town doing ecstasy. A journal? Dear diary, Colin Farrell and I were doing ecstasy tonight, definitely not trying to kill anybody.
10 for 10.
All right, guys, that's all I got for today. You stay safe now, you hear me? I don't want you to wind up on my next episode of Unsolved Mysteries. I'm Kelly Landry, you're smarter than you were.
Thank you for watching this Equals 3 Studios production. To watch another episode, click here. Also, don't forget to subscribe. And now, my Chewbacca impression. I'll work on it.